Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, 1983's Joysticks. This is 1983's Joysticks. Scorpion Releasing beautifully put this out on DVD some years back, and I believe there was also a more limited edition Blu-ray that was released of this film as well. And previous to this, there were some DVD releases, but they didn't have the special features, and I don't believe they looked or sounded as good either. Look at this unbelievable poster art. This is a time when they actually had artists doing art for movie posters, even teen sex comedies like Joysticks, even irredeemable garbage and trash, as the world may say. And I gather up that garbage and trash, for they are my diamonds, and Joysticks is one of my diamonds. This is the back of the DVD right here. You get to see some shots. And this is Joysticks 1983. This is it, folks. And this is a this actually is produced and directed by Graydon Clark, who also, I believe, directed a bunch of exploitation type films and also Satan's Cheerleaders. And if you look carefully in this film, you will see the coach of the female coach of the cheerleaders playing a kind of a news reporter in the film with she has shorter hair in this production. But this is Joysticks. Let's get into this film right here, folks. It says on the front, more fun than games. Let's get into this awesome 1983 teen sex comedy that really had such a unique bent, a unique slant, which was the arcade culture of this time. And not only the arcade culture, but the backlash from parental groups and authority figures in society, basically older people, and basically stating that arcades were dangerous places for young people, and brought out debauchery in young people. So we're bringing all that into Joysticks right here. Joysticks has to do with an arcade, and an arcade that is being threatened by somebody in the community, and of course an older person in the community. And this is a case where we have kind of the older figures being the evil people. Now, we do have a few people here. You're going to notice some faces from other teen sex comedies in this film, but also from some TV from this time frame as well. But we do have the kind of the local businessman who's trying to shut the arcade down. And the arcade gathers themselves together with their unique abilities, talents, and personalities to try to stop this. But in the meantime, we also have another group that hangs out at the arcade a bit as well. Pretty wild, boisterous group that might remind you a bit of a group in Return of the Living Dead. And that starts to bring some complexity. Also, when the local businessman who's trying to shut this place down, also his daughter has some involvement with the arcade as well. So here's all the complexity right here, folks. Let's get into Joysticks. You know, Joysticks' soundtrack was recently released on pink vinyl. So if you Google it, if you go on Amazon, twoheadeddog.com, you can go into a variety of different locations, and you will see that there is a vinyl soundtrack. It comes with a digital download card, and I think you can also get the soundtrack digitally as well. Now, the music in the film, I believe, was done by a band by the name of Legion, which would make it sound like it was like some kind of dark metal, black metal, heavy metal band, but actually it couldn't be further from the truth. The music in this film is just so representative of the era, of the time, of the genre, and of the movie itself. We have just kind of great 70s, 80s pop rock, some disco in here, some kind of 70s infused ballads, some great dance music, some pop rock dance. And the interesting thing being in 1983, we definitely have influences from the 70s music scene as well as a bit of the 80s in here as well. Real catchy choruses. They sound real summery. They make you want to just party at the local arcade. And the lyrics in some of the songs deal specifically, with the things that are happening in the film itself. But it's chock full of music, and there's also some music in the film that's not in the soundtrack either. Um, and we have just a lot of music in the film, and it's when it happens, it just sounds like a party. The music sounds like a party, and there's a bit of complexity within the soundtrack, as well as we have, as I stated, kind of some disco mixed with some rock, mixed with some pop from the 70s and 80s, and it's really, really catchy, great stuff, and it just bleeds freedom and teen fun. When we look at this film as a whole, stylistically, and just what the genres are that are being represented here, we have some interesting things happening. This is the first teen sex comedy I've ever seen that had some courtroom drama in it. I mean, courtroom comedy, I think would be a better way, but it was a courtroom section of the film. There is some dialogue in the film. There's some dialogue in the film. An amount of dialogue or that you don't typically see in a teen sex comedy as well. We also have some really wild fades in the film involving Pac-Man. Pac-Man visually and Pac-Man sound effects. Tons of arcade games in this film. Some of them real for the time, and I think some of them were kind of made just for the film. As you look at the closing credits, and you can see some of the electronic wizards there. But just chock full of arcades and arcade culture and eating your food while you were playing video games. We even have a character in this film that farts and uses his farts. It kind of reminded me a bit of maybe the disgusting nature of Booger in Revenge of the Nerds, but this kind of went a little bit into it, and it's a unique direction. I've never quite seen a teen sex comedy film that used farting in this manner, and it wasn't done in kind of a trauma way. It was done in a little bit more of a straight, seriously toned type of way, which made it even more hilarious, especially when it happens and it erupts audibly, into the movie. We have we have definitely a type of frenetic energy in the film, especially involving certain characters. There's kind of this punk group in the film that kind of has some complexity within the storyline. This character right here, and the energy level of this character was just out of control, screaming and wild. I would say over the top, but once again, not over the top in kind of a trauma way necessarily. He was just really angry and over the top. Reminded me, as I said, a bit of the Punks in Return of the Living Dead. We have, obviously some fart comedy, some type of hijinks comedy, some, just slapsticky type of stuff, sexual jokes, obviously. We do have some fucks in this film. You don't always get some fucks in a teen sex comedy, but I believe there were some in this film. Not as much as a teen sex comedy by the name of Lunch Wagon, which I've also reviewed in this YouTube page. I think that gets the record for the most fucks in a teen sex comedy that I've seen so far. Lunch Wagon. Check that review out on this page. But there's really just so seeped in arcade culture. And, you have these authority figures that are against what's happening. And what's interesting is that we also have some hijinks in this film that remind me a bit of The Last American Virgin involving an older woman. We also have some interesting flashback sequences in this film, as well as kind of mental sequences, fantasy sequences, or perception sequences might be a better way of describing it. And it brings some very interesting, unique, sexy, weird life to the courtroom scenes. And sexually speaking, we have, a good amount of topless nudity in this film, and the breasts look great. And, to see nudity with farting, with food, with dirty clothes, with punks, with a local businessman, all while playing video games, is quite a unique adventure. We have some video game competition in this film. Reminded me a bit of a movie that I already reviewed in this page called Pinball Summer, or Pickup Summer, where we have kind of a pinball competition. In this film, we have multiple video game competitions with very unique joysticks, by the way. And we also have obviously some sexual double entendres involving arcade games, involving joysticks in particular, name of the movie. But, you know, I can really see people who like teen sex comedies, who like nudity, who love the 80s, love the late 70s, and who love arcade games. This is what really makes it stand out. In a way, it's, you know, you're spending the majority of the time of the movie at the arcade. You really are. And there's this amazing pajama party that happens at the arcade, which was just so freaking unique and just so sexy and wild, and just a great idea, you know, opening it after hours at night and having a pajama party, you know, there. Where are the arcades now? Where are the arcades now? Where are the video stores now? Okay, this is what makes a film like this even that much more special. And as I said, you do have some drama in this film. You do have some dialogue in this film, and there's definitely a low budget beauty to this film as well, as you have some kind of sometimes that kind of low budget spacey vibe to the film, where it just feels like there's some space in there, if you catch my drift. You know, of course you have the authority figures. It's a very colorful film. There's some amazing lens flare going on with the lights at the arcade. Catch that. I don't know if the Blu-ray looks the same, but I think that's just the way the film looks. So this is Joysticks from 1983. Just a great menu screen, by the way, too. And just a great emphasis in not only using arcade games sexually, but also using arcade games within the editing and the style of the whole film at large. So very, very cool stuff. 1983's Joysticks. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like this film right here. Great poster art, and the camera will do this, by the way. Only within this genre, actually only within the sexploitation genres and all the subgenres underneath sexploitation, is the camera unabashedly allowed to do this, to do what I'm doing right now. In other genres of film, people are like, what the hell, why is the camera doing that? What is he, some kind of sicko? In this genre, it's allowed. That's right. Thank you, and good night.